Hey, welcome to the newest episode of the Articulate Ox podcast. I am your host, Soma79. Thank you so much for joining me today. My guest, Mark Harootian, is someone who I absolutely adore. I'm a big ballet fan. I've loved ballet for many years. It goes back to when I was just out of college and I was dating someone who was still at Northeastern, and she wanted to go see the Nutcracker, and all of her friends bailed on her. And I was like, well, I'll take you. So we sat second row, and it was absolutely amazing. I was transfixed, and I just couldn't believe the combination of music and body movement and just how friggin' hard it obviously is. I loved it. So that's what this episode's about. Mark's a choreographer. He's a former ballet dancer. I met him several years back through a mutual friend. I think we talk about that in this episode. And, as soon as I realized he was a ballet dancer, I was like, I'm going to chew this dude's ear off. But in that regard, he can give as good as he can get, because he's got a lot of great stories here. He's got a lot of good insight into where dance is, where it's come from, where it's going, his feelings about it. And this is a really interesting episode if you like dance at all. So Mark's a great, awesome person. Check him out and enjoy the episode. Peace. Hey, welcome to the newest episode of the Articulate Ox podcast. I'm your host, Soma79. Thank you so much for joining me today. My guest, Mark. We just went through a big thing on how to say your last name, and I just threw a blank. Mark Harootian.
Yes, you said it right. Well done.
I was doing well before I even asked, so that ruined it all. Mark is a ballet and dance instructor at Salve Regina and Dean College, and choreographer, ballet dancer yourself in your day. You've done it all.
Back in the day.
Right. Two things people are very surprised to find out about me is I love the Carpenters, one of my favorite bands of all time, and Karen Carpenter is one of my biggest crushes, and I love ballet. And with ballet, I could never do it. I, only got a few pop and locks and, rave moves in me. And it's something that I've always admired from afar. I don't know a ton about it. I was telling you before, I got this book here that I bought years ago and haven't got a chance to read yet, but we're getting there. And I've drawn some pictures of some ballet dancers like Petra Conti, one of my favorites for the LA Ballet. But I don't know a ton about it. So this is going to be an educational experience for me. We're going to talk a little about the current state of dance, and we're going to ramble for a bit. So Mark, how you doing? Your chance to ramble.
Oh my gosh, I can't complain. Tim, like I tell everybody, I'm alive. Right, that's the name of the game.
Ask for
like now. My Uncle Barry he still says, I should say, right? I'm alive. I'm the name of the game, and I get to do what I like you said. I am I like to say a professional in the field. If you're any kind, especially in the performing arts, but all forms of arts, you kind of got to be a jack of all trades. A little bit of this and a little bit of that. It's such a wonderful field, but you got to be in a way creative in order to make it like your livelihood. So back in my day, I had my performing career, and I shouldn't say that. I had it's if you go into the realm, especially let's say dance or ballet, particularly, your career drastically changes. Oh my gosh, it could be per year or per decade. Why? Because we use our bodies as a medium, right? And our bodies, whether we like it or not, they change. So therefore, you yourself and your overall performance and your priorities and all that stuff kind of change. So you could say I would say currently right now, well, what would I say? I'm more a dance educator, right? I'm an adjunct professor at Salve Regina University and Dean College, where I teach a whole variety of stuff. See, and this is where you're going to learn more. I didn't know anything about ballet, but I just had my typical, natural assumptions of ballet when I started to go into it at the age of 7. And I'll tell you this, Tim, I didn't want to go into it at all.
How many preconceived notions can you have at the age of 7?
A lot. For example, I'm actually shocked. Never do I ever get, first of all, never do I ever get the opportunity to talk about dance, never mind ballet, so in-depthly. So I'm thrilled to be here, and you got me. We were able to talk even further about it. But even on top of that, you just naturally have associations with dance. You don't necessarily get someone of your stature that goes, "I love ballet." It's something of mine. I love to do it, and it was something I even had you know, even when I was in high school, it was almost like a little secret surprise. I would tell everybody. Everyone would go, well, "What do you do? What do you like to do? What do you like to do?" Believe it or not, I do ballet. And most of the time, people would go, "Really? Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I've never met a ballet dancer. I've never met particularly a boy." Do you see what I mean?
Yep. We
And
had one
there
kid. There was one
lies
kid in my high
into,
school who was a ballet dancer. I believe he went pro too. But you're describing very much. It seemed like the way that he was treated in my high school. You know.
yes, you get where I'm going. And thus, where even at the age of 7 and 8, you feel the cultural norms and expectations that you're around. Ballet and dance wasn't necessarily encouraged, let's say,
Right.
in the late 80s, early 90s. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
There's all these stigmas that kind of come with it, and these stigmas still um, are present today, you
Yep.
know? And for example, I use you know, Lara Spencer. Do you know Lara Spencer? She's an anchor on the Good Morning America show.
You sound. I probably know her
So
if I saw her.
yes, this was right before the pandemic. You know, bullying was a hot topic. It was big right now. You can
Yep.
thank what was it, the First Lady Trump there.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
drawing a
Avant.
blank. Drawing a
Whatever.
blank. I should
Melania.
know.
Melania.
Yes, yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Melania. I
Melania.
think
There
that
you
was
go. I.
Melania Trump. Bullying, and you know, I actually ended up doing my thesis in graduate school about using that as a vehicle. That was my artistic thing about bullying, and sure enough, Lara Spencer, right there on national television, was going over what was it, Prince William and Kate's oldest son there, George, the next heir to the throne, not
Yep.
William, but the next one, right? I think it was like Prince of Cambridge or who cares, whatever his title is. He had all these crazy courses, and then all of a sudden she goes, he's also going to take ballet, and he was only at the age of 6 or 7, and they all started laughing. I don't know if you recall, if you remember this.
No, I don't.
No, you don't remember. And I'll even play it if you want me to, but who cares? But basically, she indirectly made fun of ballet, and everybody else went in with it. And it's a thing. But I have hope, Tim, because there's people like you, and just, you know, these television shows that are out there. Oh my gosh, I have some reservations about them, but I
Right.
love them. I love them because it's keeping dance alive, and putting it in American culture, unlike it was in the 80s
Right.
and 90s. And I think people interested in practicing dance and understanding really what is the essence behind dance, never mind ballet. Do you know what I mean? It's becoming more accepted and recognized as a sophisticated profession, that
Yeah.
it can be so fulfilling on so many different levels. And that's the thrilling part about it. And
What's
so when I even hear someone like you that's kind of from my own generation, like, I've been interested in ballet, I go, yeah, that's awesome. Say it out loud.
yeah.
I hope there should be even more people interested in ballet, never mind just dance in
Yeah.
general.
I mean, what interests me about ballet, so I remember seeing probably my first live ballet. I was dating, I graduated college. I was dating someone who was still in college and she wanted to go to the Nutcracker, but all of her friends bailed on her. So I went and got tickets and we ended up with like second row seats at the Boston Ballet. Cause I'm like, if I'm doing this, we're going big. And I loved it. It blew me away. It just made me think about how few things there are from that, that point in time, like his ballet is obviously around for a long time, that still exists in a very similar form today. Like ballet hasn't, I'm sure you could describe ways it has changed, but I think to the average, viewer, it's the same essence of things. It's like, they're dancing to music, to classical music in general. There's been some evolution to it, but it feels like something from a past time that has lived on because of just how tricky it is to do and just how impressive it is. And to sit
Oh
up
yeah.
front and see them, it is so impressive.
Oh, absolutely. And yeah, I forgot the way you termed it. Oh, it's as if it's encapsulated a past time. Oh my God, you're absolutely right. And I love how it captivated and enthralled you. You
Yeah.
know, as even being in the second row, because then you kind of get to see even the raw physicality of it. You know, it's interesting. Um, let's see. Let's do a little bit of, like, what is it about ballet? What was it? Kind of like me. Do you know what I mean? And,
Yeah.
and I think that's, a good way to kind of put it. The aesthetic of it is so unique, that the average human being wouldn't necessarily be able to duplicate it so
Oh,
easily.
right.
But when you watch it, it's the dancers, again, that's part of their tactic, is it's so effortless. And I think part of the reason why you feel like it's a bit of, I'm in a way peering in on an event in the past time in almost a purity, authenticity, is kind of, that's basically what it was. If you
Yeah.
think about it, I'm going to try to make this as concise as possible. Believe it or not, ballet was created in the during the Renaissance period, thanks to those that awesome family, the Medici or Medici, however they pronounce it, right?
Yep.
There was one of their family members. Her name was Catherine. She was awesome. And of course, she's all pissed off. She's got to be betrothed to the King of France, right? And she
Mhm.
went over, but she knew what she wanted, to keep what was hers, and her background was like her body and culture, and I don't think people understand that dance is so infused in our culture, right? That everyday movements and stuff nowadays is considered dance, and it's called like embodied knowledge. We don't need to speak the same language or come from the same background, but we can read body language. We can understand facial expressions and gestures and stuff, because thousands of years this has been embedded in us. It's
Right.
like actually in our DNA. And what's even more amazing, as I say it like that, right? Especially as I started to become more an educator of dance, right? I didn't really necessarily fully understand it. This is at the age of my early years of 30, that every single dance is a form of an ethnic dance, and that's
Yep.
our crazy Western modern day kind of colonist kind of mind set, to be like, oh, ethnic dance. So you're thinking a cultural dance that has a purity. Every single culture that we live in today has a form of dance that belongs to them. That just so happened to be Catherine's, the 1% of back in the day. Do you know what I mean? The
Yep.
royals and the aristocrats. And what's even better about it, right? Um, and you can see how I hope I can draw a relation to your idea of past time and it kind of encapsulating it, and then the reasoning why ballet has survived throughout the years and why
Hmm.
we look at it, or what is appealing about it. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
To a general person or the people in the field, right? Is really, well, what is art, right? Never mind the performing arts or dance or just every bit of art. What the hell is it? Basically, it's communication. That's what you're doing. What are you trying to say to me, right?
And
With
ballet is
whatever medium.
interesting. It's interesting in that regard because you have an art where it's like you both, we're talking about when it exists, 200-300 years ago. You got a bunch of people in a room. There were no screens. There was nothing like that. You have to play to both the front row and the back row. And you have to
Yeah.
have, there's very subtle things that you do in ballet, and there's things that have to be very broad in order to hit both those audiences, because it's you're doing it all with your body and the music. So you have to make sure
Yes.
that you're using, the most of it. So the highs have to be really high and the lows have to be really low.
Really, exactly. You get it. And they honed in on it. Believe it or not, it was called court ballet back in the day. And it was very simple. If you see those time period films, it's people holding hands, doing little patterns,
Yep.
to certain music. Minuets were big back in the day, the gavotte, et cetera, all that kind of stuff. But literally, Tim, what they were doing is communicating to the rest of all other countries. They're saying, look at how Catherine was smart. She said, "Trust me, my man." I think it was like Henry II or something like that. You want to do this because I have experience. We're going to make a spectacle, and then everybody who's going
Right.
to come and watch, they're going to go, "Whoa, look at this spectacle!" And then there are all these little politicians, and they sent subliminal messages, and it was just revered. Oh, this is what us elite do. And of course, people,
Right.
think of it like the working class laborers. They would look up at, you know
Right.
what I mean? Wow, look at this elite, right? There's something about ballet that just kind of reeks elitism. Well, now you know why. Because it
Especially at
was
a time
only
too
done.
when like communication was so much slower, you really needed to put a stamp on who you were. And it's like if you were
Mm,
gonna, it's like like Russian ballet has traveled all around the world, and it's like it traveled around to say basically said this is what we as the Russians believe we're like the best at. I'm putting the words in their mouth, but it's like, and they travel and go, this is basically what we want you to think of us
yes,
as to
and
some
that's
degree,
how
you know.
yes, and that's how ballet ended up in Russia, right? Because think about it, Russia was considered, back in these days, like this not so civil, sophisticated Western European country, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, just to make a short story, that's where all, they used ballet to show almost the showcase. Think of it as a glimpse, the Facebook page, your profile page to your nation in
Yeah.
so many ways, right? And
Like
of
if you
course,
were to see a picture of like Paris with the Eiffel Tower in like the 80s, that evokes a certain idea of what Paris must be, and you kind of fill in the
yes,
blanks.
you get
But
where I'm going,
right, it's a similar thing where
right?
it's like you show the Russian ballets, and that becomes what people think of as Russia, when they fill in the
Yes, and
rest of the
then
blanks.
think of the aesthetic of it, right? Because we're supposed when I say we practitioners in the field, right? One of the main aesthetics is be light, right? Make it look
Mm-hmm.
effortless, almost unworldly, supernatural, like the king or the
Yep.
queen, right? They point their feet as if their limbs they can go beyond the extremities of their feet. Do you know what I
Yep.
mean? And
Almost
so it
supernatural.
got so good. They got so, badass at it. Let's just say France, right? Louis the 14th, he's the bomb, the Sun King. If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't really have ballet as it is. He made it, he understood I could use this as a vehicle. Think of it like a superstar. I don't know. Give me somebody like I don't know. Godfather of Soul.
Oh,
You know what
James
I mean?
Brown. Yeah.
Yes. When you're of such stature and you're doing stuff, people are going to follow you. They're going to do
Yeah.
everything, right? That's kind of like what was basically King Louis the 14th was doing, and then he was honed in on it. He even allowed women to go up on the stage, and because of that, he was like, "This is getting so intense. I need other people to keep track of it," and that's where the technique comes in. And they were able to come up with positions and things like that. I think
Right.
one of the big ones, George Nouvert, was one of the others. There's more. I don't want to get into a history lesson, but anyway,
Yeah.
they created this technique. And one of the main aesthetics, this entire technique is based off of, believe it or not, turning out from your hips and your legs because it stemmed from fencing. It's more of a stable position, which is completely unnatural to our
Right.
human body, which then makes it even more unique, which is
Mhm.
the other appealing aspects. And then from there, this technique got more sophisticated. Russia was like, oh my God, we're becoming equally sophisticated as the other ones. We got to get ballet. Really, that's basically what was taking place. This is at the turn of the century now. We're talking like um, like 19th, like the not yeah, going into the 20th century, right? And basically, they took French and Italian instructors, they brought them over, and they made everything imperial. Everything was about the nation, and they created their own kind of technique, which is almost standardized. And all these different methodologies and techniques are now being blended into like this hybrid form of training. Yes, there's pure methods you can do in training, but the technique now is like so I mean down to even the fingertips and how they're held, where your eye gaze is and all this stuff. It's so particular that now you are understanding math proficiency, let's say, of caliber of
Right.
technique mixing with artistry. And if you can do those two things, you get the total artwork. And when you look at ballet, oh my God, you see that essence of that past time. I mean, think about it. Most of especially all the story stuff, right? It's almost like the equivalent to Marvel, right? These fantasy or Tolkien or Harry Potter, these like, you know, um, fantasy like stuff, right? Or you have narratives, and most of these narratives are like of a king or a prince, of coming of age, looking to marry, something like
Yep.
that. Do you get what you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And
No.
then it just progresses from there. The likelihood of people back then doing that stuff, no, it doesn't. You know what I mean?
Right. people
But
didn't really
you
change their
see
stations.
that
Yeah,
being that over the years, it naturally has it's kind of surfaced the notion of high art, and how can you say what is better art than the other art? Because art is subjective. Do you see
right.
what I mean?
Well, it's funny you
Someone
mentioned
may
that
be,
because there's one thing that too. So this is probably less hard to believe of me. I'm a big pro wrestling fan, and there's a part of me that sees so many similarities between pro wrestling and ballet because you have people out there literally destroying their bodies. They're doing
yep,
something that's very athletic, but not a competition. But they're still kind of competing with the people around them for a spot, while at the same time trying to help the people around them because it's better when they all work together. And it's like once again, you got to play to the front row and the back row, and you have a limited shelf life, and you got to find ways to extend your career. And
yes,
I don't like sports that much. I don't like watching sports, but it's like you have like ballet here and pro wrestling here and everything in the middle. I'm like not interested in. But there's it's
well,
similar in
if
the
you
way
think
that it's
about it,
it's
when you
yeah.
think if you think about it, what is pro wrestling doing in comparison? What are all those people doing in comparison to regular sports players? They're in a way becoming a persona, right?
Right. They're performers. Yeah.
They're
They call them
performers.
right. They're
They are in
entertainers.
a
Yep.
way, they're in a way conveying a form of attitude
Right.
or
They're using their
expression.
body to express a story in the same way
Yes,
that a ballet
and I
person
think
does.
that's one of the main differences. If you look at ballet versus the other styles of dance,
Mm-hmm.
particularly in the concert realm, because that's another thing we have to understand. There's different contexts of dance,
Yep.
right? You have concert realm, which is like me up on a stage, anything being performed in front of an audience, that's concert. Then
Mm-hmm.
you have commercial, right? Dance that's created to sell something. It could be a person, a
Right.
product, or if you want to be even more, 21st century brand,
Right.
what's your brand,
Just think of
right?
background
Something of that.
dancers for Janet Jackson or something like that. They're there to
Yes,
enhance
there you
her,
go.
you know.
Now you understand. And then you have cultural. Do you see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Where you have a little bit more uh, um, um, purity, authenticity
Right.
linked to a particular community or culture in specific.
Right.
That, in a way, kind of like what I was saying, is like the Facebook profile page of this nation. In a direct,
Yeah. The
you
type of
would
dance you might see at like
characterize
a
this
pride
dance.
parade, like, like an Irish
Yes,
pride parade, you would see a specific type of dance there that you might not see elsewhere.
yes, social dances, recreational dance. You get where
Yep.
I'm going. All that kind of stuff. So and when you look at ballet in specific, they ballet in a way was created to express, um how can I put it, or yeah, to express like a stature. This is where we are, this is what we think of and what we come across, whereas like other forms of dance like jazz or modern, right, they kind of sell more of an attitude. Do you
Good
know what I
point.
mean? They
Right.
have more of a, it's more of a mentality that shapes the styles of dance, which are different from the different artists that makes it, right? They're more umbrella terms. Where ballet is a little bit more boom specific.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? There's
No,
different styles within ballet, but not nowhere near as much as, isn't that an interesting concept?
this just
And
occurred to
they're
me.
all,
Oh, go
yeah.
for it.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Breakdancing is going to be entering the Olympics in the next,
Yeah.
I think the
I
next
love
year.
that.
It's going to be,
Shut
I
the front
cannot
door.
wait to see what it's going to be like.
I
It's
don't
what
know,
somebody,
but here's the thing. I don't know how that's going to work. Tell
I
me how
don't,
that's going to work.
I'm assuming they're going to judge it similar to the way they do like free form gymnastics, where it's like more of closer to like, style, like whether you actually didn't fall on your head or stuff like that. I think, I don't know. But the
Oh,
question for
Tim,
me kind of begs is, do you think ballet is something that could be, I don't know if elevated is the right word, but is there something, would you ever see something like ballet becoming an Olympic sport?
okay. Okay, let's go back because this is, believe it or not, it's one of my favorite discussions I have, not just with any ordinary person, but especially dancers of all kinds in the field. Let's do this. What do you think dance is? Is it an art or a sport?
Um, I would have to say, similar to how I said professional wrestling, I would call it more of an art because there isn't it's not being graded in a way like there is no clear winner, I guess.
Yes, you nailed it. Oh, I love how in depth you are and culturally well rounded.
Well,
You're
because you could
absolutely
also
right.
argue that just being in good enough shape to be Vin Diesel in Fast and the Furious could be qualified as a sport because of all the training you do, but ultimately it's for a performance, you know.
It has athletic qualities.
Right.
But really, what is the purpose of what the hell we do? Remember, art to communicate.
Yep.
That's what it is. And believe it or not, everything you're mentioning, right? That you're saying all these people and breakdancing and all this. Why are all these people doing this in the first place? As a
Right.
form of expression, right? They feel compelled enough to want to express, but also want to be recognized. These are people that also want to have a little bit of attention. Do you know what I mean? You're going to be
Yeah.
observed. You know you're going to be observed doing it, right? And um, it's when you nailed it in the sense as in a sport. If you define what is a sport, right? Competing, blah blah blah. Usually there's rules,
Right. Yep.
right? And there's a winner and there's a loser. So I
A
that's when you get
referee or something, you know.
yes, and that's where you go, whoa, 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 wait a minute. And of course, I there's so many people I know that can go way more in depth into this that led this discussion. For example, one of my supervisors at Harootian University, Lindsay Garino, wrote an amazing article that I based this discussion about. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
this is just me primitively talking about it, right? So as an example, so if I dance with my mom at my wedding, who's winning
Right.
is one of us has to lose, right? If it's a
Right.
sport. But
Yep.
then again, how is that not equally as awesome as a ballet performance?
Yeah. It makes me
You
wonder
know what
too
I
that
mean?
the question about how they're going to grade the breakdancing at the Olympics. It's like I'm starting to think about so the ones that are going to be the best are going to be the one say it is graded on style and stuff. It's going to be the ones who are best able to
It
convey
should
some
personally,
sort of a
honestly,
story or
Tim.
emotion.
Yeah, honestly, Tim, it's this is where I'm conflicted. Do you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
how can you judge art? You can't.
Right.
You literally can. You can. How can I put it? In the arts, uniqueness is revered, right? You
Yeah.
want to stand out. Even if you're doing ballet, how you perform the technique is you, and that's your style. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
People may
Definitely.
want to, people would want to come see me do maybe more of a comical role. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Or more of a contemporary role, just because of the qualities I possess.
Right.
Whereas I want to go see Tim do Swan Lake because he's more technically proficient.
Right.
And this is where it gets construed. And this is where, let's say, the television shows like So You Think You Can Dance, World of Dance, all that kind of stuff. This is where I get um, conflicted with it because I I know probably the makers know that they are probably the leading people that are educating the mass general sum of our nation about dance in a way.
Right. Yeah.
And they're implying this competition, competition, competition. And if you have rules and limitations and stuff, especially like in sports, if you're going to really treat it like that, rules limit creativity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I have a
And
lot of
then
friends
if
whose
you,
kids they're driving all over the country to take for 7-year-old dance competitions, and it feels like how are we really picking these winners, and what does that really get you? You know.
yes, 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 yes. Oh my God. A gesture such as somebody slowly, not even going fast, going to somebody else's face and then doing something to it can move someone profoundly versus five, six, seven tricks. And so a lot of private competitive studios have kind of, anything can be exploited. Let's just say, everyone's going to make a quick buck if you can. So dance that has major technical requirements, like ballet. Do you see what I mean?
Yep.
Ballet is something where because if you think about it, what do performing artists do? Or I should say, artists do. We're hardwired like scientists, right? We're always on this never-ending, sustained inquiry, experiment, investigation. And how do we
Yep.
do it? we weigh qualities. Our qualities would be, I don't know, energy, right? You can have a lot of energy going fast or very little energy, and it has a certain type of quality that kind of comes to it. So and this is how we create. And this even comes down to how you what actions or movements come first after the other to the whole composition. And I love that because the arts, a lot of the arts, all their methods, all the artists' different methods, right, are translatable. Methods that are being done in music, you could apply in dance, and vice versa with the arts and stuff like that. Even with like you're interested in film, a lot of it. What do you want? What is your priority? What do you want to stand out and all that kind of stuff? So anyway, it's the technical stuff that people are understanding, and that's what you could real. If I was going to judge, if I was going to be fair, it would have to be on a technical caliber thing.
Right.
You know, for example, how high can you get your leg, and how technically correct is it in such and such a thing? Ballet's been competed for years. Do you know what I mean? And just naturally, dance itself is naturally competitive. I mean, this has been done for thousands of years, and it's still being done now. Social recreational dancing. Do you know what I mean? You have a competitive thing going on. One person dances than the other. You totally see it in breakdancing.
Oh, definitely.
Do you know what I mean? And then what do you think's going on during that moment? These people are conveying a persona, an attitude. They're communicating to the people around them. They're communicating to the people in front of them. Do you know what I mean?
They're in some ways like a gorilla banging its chest in the jungle to some degree. It's that.
This is the attitude of I would say, and this is my own personal opinion, and if anything I can honestly say is I know nothing.
Oh, did you freeze up a little bit? Uh-oh.
What is it? Ohms or something like that. Amazing dance educator, writer. You know, she was saying ballet was getting stale back in the 90s. Yeah, all this kind of stuff. Well, all of our arts reflect our culture and in a way preserve history. So this is kind of why I'm saying when you go to ballet, of course it's naturally going to have that pastime because that's essentially what it is. But what type of ballet are you talking about? I think you're talking about more of romantic and classical ballets, which naturally encompassed a narrative. Do you see what I mean?
Definitely.
And then during that time period, like for the romantic period, fantasy, that's what I mean. You romanticize about something. That's when ballet became all about women.
Yes, I was going to bring it up as well, that it's like, you know, there's so many places in society where women, you know, take a backseat to men, and there's very few where it's the opposite. And it seems like ballet is a place where the women seem to be a little bit more upfront than the men. At least that's my perception.
God. Well, you know, it's interesting. You see misogyny 100%. Or I shouldn't say misogyny. Take that word out, if anything. Patriarchy.
Yeah.
That's what you see. Remember, it's an ethnic dance, right? So, I mean, look at how they're dancing, right? Look at how it's formatted. You have the sense of stature,
right?
Elite, you know what I mean? You have, oh my God, let's go to the bottom of the barrel. You have students, right? Peasants,
right?
Right? You got students,
the groundlings,
and then below students, you have trainees. Trainees are like people, young students that got potential,
like
but
dabblers.
I don't know, can they mentally make it through, right? Or hit X amount of objectives, whoever sees the potential in them, right? And then you have apprentices. And then after apprentices, you have, let's say, you know, like a major company like Boston Ballet, let's say, for example, you would have Boston Ballet 2, which means it's not Boston Ballet, but it's a separate company. And these are, we don't want to let them go. These are high performers, you know, employees that we are thinking 5-7 years from now. Do you know what I mean? We don't want to, we're going to exercise them.
When they're what, like 17? Because how young are those kids in the no, I'm just curious, how young are they in that second group for someone like the Boston Ballet?
I'm going to say probably anywhere between the age of, it depends again on their technical proficiency. At that time, you're really looking at technical proficiency. But if you can also get some really refined artistry, dancing qualities out of these students. You got a total package there. So this could be anywhere between the age of 16,
Okay.
15.
Because
Even
that was
could
one of
be
my questions too, is that it feels like if you go too young, these are people, of both genders, their bodies haven't developed yet. And it's not like you can look at a 9-year-old and go, oh, I can see their bone structure and this is what they're going to be
Yes,
like
you
then.
can.
It's, oh, so,
Yes, you
okay.
can. You can. And this again goes with the culture and the time period. I will tell you, ballet is extremely superficial and
Oh, yes.
stereotypical because it has
That's
that,
very much how it's like pro wrestling too.
yes, it has that old school, patriotic European Western mentality. And unfortunately,
Just say
it was
white, it's shorter.
patriotic. Yeah, I know it was patriotic. I mean,
Yeah, it
why
is.
is it?
Because a lot of
And notice what
ethnicity
I'm
is
saying, Tim.
a lot of ethnicity
Notice,
comes down from patriarchy because they were controlling a lot of it. So
yeah,
it's all.
yes, you get it. So, um, how can I notice how I'm saying what style of ballet? Because each style, and this goes all with dance and all different forms of art, right? Even when you look at your films, if you were going through your films, you're seeing what the trends were, what the mentality of the mass some were back during that time period. So let's look at the idea of stature. I just stopped at apprentice at our second company. Then you have corps. Corps in French means body, CORPS, right?
Yep, like
So
like
corps
Marine
means
Corps.
ensemble. Yeah, in a legit like company of today, ballet company, right? You have a minimum of 32, minimum of 32. Just because those big ones, those big classics like Sleeping Beauty and Swan Lake and stuff like that. The core
Right.
requires 32 women. Not interesting, right? Yet at the same time, why is it too that the men are always the ones supporting, manipulating? Do you know what I
They're the
mean? The
base.
women when it comes to the partnering aspect of it all, right?
Yep.
And then after you have core, you can even have even major companies like Paris Opera, ABT, things like that. You have first core, second core. Who's going to be in the front? Who's going to be in the back? And then you have demi soloists. You stand out among the core and you can be featured here and there, maybe for 25 seconds in a 3-minute number.
Yeah.
So you'll be a second soloist, right? And then you have first soloist. And then you have principal. And principal means you are the top of the top. That means you
Yeah.
are well rounded artistically and you are well rounded technically. And what I mean by technically, you got rid of all your performance kinks. Who gives a shit what you do? Unfortunately, us vicious, demanding, conceited, selfish audience members want so much,
Right.
right? Nobody
People
gives a shit what you
expectations are
do in the
higher than ever, no
rehearsal.
matter what it is.
Yeah. What it really comes down to is your actual performance. And most real good artists, performing artists, right? Real good, true ones, very rarely walk away going, damn, that was a good one. Do you
Right.
know what I mean?
Very
Because
true.
at least with me, and this is just from my own personal experience, but I believe I speak to many of my colleagues and friends that some are still performing or not performing. I always try to achieve that wonderful balance of fuck, that performance felt good and also looked good, because
Yeah.
you may look good, but it didn't feel good to the performer.
Yep.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, this was kind of a good point to sort of pivot on because it was something that we were going to talk a little bit about where dance is now. And one thing that
Ah,
the sports talk got me thinking about is, so if you were to look at somebody, I'm not a big football fan, but you look at like your average linebacker today versus your average linebacker back in like the 70s, it's like you're looking at people that almost look like they're different species. Like it's like there's
yeah,
been so much advance in what, like, the people are running times now that the people probably thought were impossible years ago, and the technology has caught up to what we can, we know better what to put in our bodies. So I'm wondering if there's been something similar with dance or ballet, where now, because we know more about our bodies and we know how to feed them better, take care of them, is there things that we're capable of that couldn't have been seen 100 years ago?
oh my God, how about right now, Tim? What we're doing right now.
Oh yeah, yeah. Is that?
You get where I'm going.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? Absolutely. I remember back in my day. Now, what's my day? I started dancing, taking ballet classes. At first, it was just once a week at the
Mhm.
age of 7. So that, let's see, if I was born in 82, probably 89-ish, 90, 1990. I think it was 1990 now that I think about it,
Yeah.
7 or 8. Um, and uh, all I had was that class. My parents could have bought some books and some videos, but that stuff was expensive back then.
Right.
Do you see what I'm
And there
saying?
probably weren't even that many. It probably wasn't that easy to find, or there, you can go
No,
to your
you
local
get where I'm
library,
going.
but like,
You get where I'm going. And then
yeah,
when you hear these names like Boston Ballet School, and you read about all this stuff, and then when you go to see it, some of what you read may be a complete, well, I don't want to go into speculation, but
no, but I
you
know
get where I'm
exactly what
going.
you're saying. Yeah,
It's not necessarily what you assumed it to be.
right.
Absolutely.
There was no
And
Yelp.
and and this is where I just, said sent off a recommendation letter to a student. It's a boy who I have been working with, let's say over a 10-year span. And I just looked at him. I was like, Daddy, oh my God, you are far better than I could have ever been at your age. And I remember thinking, why? How come? Because he had such a similar background from
Yeah,
Worcester, blah, 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 blah. Well, it's just natural. It's called human evolution. Every generation should be a hybrid form of what was before it, right? And you dance like music, right, is now being looked at, or I should say, uh, uh, accepted as equally as sophisticated and beneficial as music, which is crazy because dance, in a way, was the first form of art that ever existed. And I
right.
think I
Because
told you this.
all we had is our bodies, so we used our
All our
bodies. So
bodies. Do you know what I mean? The best example would be, think of a caveman trying to talk to another one.
right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Or even the gorilla
uh,
beating its chest to some degree. It's theatrics.
yes, yes, yes. So thank you, ballet, right? In many ways, because how about this? Anything I've come to learn, right? Why do we create art, right? And one of the best quotes, and I learned it during my graduate school, during a lot of my research and stuff. His name was Richard Kinsland. It was about musical theater. He was talking about the Gesundheitswerk, Wagner, this
Yep.
composer back in Germany, and all this stuff. I could go into that differently, but one of the opening things was the arts were created to express what cannot be expressed through words, or something similar of that. And that makes so much more sense. Do
Yeah.
you know what I mean? On
Yeah.
why we do what we do and why we create what we create. Thanks to ballet, or how I shouldn't say that. Thanks to just human tendency, suppression, one form of another, you know, humans are going to feel some form of suppression, whether you're the dominant community or not, right?
Right.
You're not going to be able to do something or achieve something or make sense about something. And most of what of art, if you strip away a lot of the context of it, right? Get rid of the time period, get rid of the freaking costume, get rid of that fucking character. What are we? What are we getting to? It. Most of it is about love and death,
Right.
which
It's
is
funny
crazy.
too, because it's like when you talk about what people like about entertainment, like art is really more about people who like subjectivity, and sport to me seems people as more like objectivity. Is it's like, they
And
want
that
to,
goes,
yeah.
yes,
It's like those are
yes,
like sort of at the
yes,
very base level. The difference is objectivity and subjectivity, and what people
yes,
more enjoy living in which one of those realms.
absolutely. You totally get it. And so it's speculation that a lot of folk dances would be like, you wear boots, or I'm just giving that's of, like, let's say, Eastern European, an
Yeah.
example of another form of folk dance, the tango, from Argentina, another form of folk dance. How about country line dancing? Would that be our form of like folk dancing, right?
Yep.
All that kind of shit. Um, a lot of that, especially folk in Europe, right? You wonder, it's been speculated, was it created in specifically direct to oppose ballet? Because you have this a group that's showing off this type of performance that everybody hears about, how wonderful it is, but nobody can partake in it and or see it. Well, we're gonna have to do their own fucking shit too.
Right.
Look at the movie. What's his face there? Some James Cameron's Titanic. You know the
Yeah.
scene where the mofo's Leo and what's her
Yeah. And
face
Kate
Emma.
Winslet. Yeah.
Yeah, Kate, whatever her name,
Yeah.
Kate. Good old Kate. They're down there getting their boogie woogie.
Yeah.
They're Irish step dancing. That's a form of folk dance, while the others are doing, the more sophisticated, right?
I
And
mean,
there's
it's
always
almost
this.
like the way punk rock reacted to like dinosaur rock of the 70s.
That's you
You
see,
know?
and you see how all of this is so, in a way, similar. Um, Thank you, ballet, in many ways, because if it wasn't for ballet, you almost wonder, would we have a lot of the forms of dance that we have now? For
Right.
example, do you know a lot about American modern dance?
Not that much. I mean, I could break dancing as far as I go for that, and
And
that's
see,
probably not what
this
we're
is
talking about.
again, this is where I get very like I have reservations about these big shows. Modern dance. This is the type of dance where people, practitioners, typically wear bare feet, and it's all about movement and feeling
Yeah.
versus technical requirement and quality. And it was, you could say, conjured up or derived, as many believe is the mother, you could call it the mother of modern dance, was Isadora Duncan. We're talking turn of the century, say 18. I would say she's like 1885, 1890s, going all the way to like, I think 1930s ish. She unfortunately she died young in a very freak accident. I think she was on a car or motorcycle, and her scarf got caught in the
Oh my
wheel
God.
very quick. I know, so, and she died young, and you wonder if she stayed alive. But basically, what
Yeah.
she did is she said, How is it that ballet said that this is real dancing and this is not dancing? And this is where I was getting with high art, and you see
Mm-hmm.
how it's associated with the
Yep.
community, right? That shoves it in your face and propaganda and all that, whatever, right? And this is where I feel bad for ballet, because I love ballet. It's been so good to me, and yet it's always good to know that there's good and bad in everything,
Yeah.
right? And it's good to, the more you know about it, the more you could probably use it um, and be more proficient with it, right? um, so ballet, was very, it's saying movement, this, that, it came very body oriented.
Right.
People are very, body image is a huge problem. I mean, think about it. 24/7, you're looking at a mirror, and most of the time people are saying you're wrong, wrong, wrong,
Right.
wrong, wrong. You know what I
Right.
mean? You're practically naked.
And you're
But
wishing your hip bone was like slightly in a different
yes,
position. There's no way to control that. You
you
just
can
start,
get it. Where
yeah,
Isadora's going, fuck this. I can't deal with this. And she goes, how come me going like this can't be dance, right? How
right,
come dance can't have expression or derive from certain things? And basically, she was able to illustrate how any movement can be considered dance. And then her predecessors beyond that went to the next level. If you've heard of names like Martha Graham, Doris Humphrey, Merce Cunningham, right? They start to get, they were saying, yeah, and they were saying, no. They actually were saying, no, don't give me a technique. People came up with modern technique. No, technique is limiting. We want to be creative and we want to go
right.
zany. And this is where avant-garde weird shit started to come out. We're talking like 1970s and 60s and stuff like this.
Right. Because
All
if
this
you go to the
crazy.
ballet, you know what to expect to a certain degree, and they want and the opposite of not
Yeah.
knowing
And
what
then
to
after
expect.
a while, people want new shit. New
Well, it's funny.
generations want new shit.
It's funny how often there are things like what I kind of refer to as like Leno and Letterman, where it's like you have Leno, which is sort of the corny standard of what the late night is, and then you have Letterman, which is sort of just, at its essence, a parody of a talk show. And I think
Yes.
whenever you see there's two things that are existing there's almost a Coke and Pepsi, which isn't the greatest example, but two things that are sort of like that. There's usually a relationship like that between them. You know?
Yes. 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 And this is what was happening, um, you know, in America in the 20th century. And yet at the same time, Tim, the biggest form of cultural appropriation practically in our entire nation is jazz dance. Break dance is a part of it.
Right.
Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Where did it come from? Most people have no fucking clue. And unfortunately, it's part of that horrific black area of our history called slavery.
Yeah.
And again, there's that marginalization, that suppression. The only thing slaves had were their bodies.
Yep. In their
And
mouths.
so they
Yep.
kept their cultural African forms of dance alive. It's actually a place called Congo Square in New Orleans where a lot of it came from, and it was a form of dance
Right.
that was totally derived and went on the same life cycle until like bebop came around with
Right.
jazz music. And look at, you can't get anything more American.
Right.
Jazz music and jazz dance. Most people love and it's an umbrella term. And like modern dance, it's selling an attitude. It's finding individualism. Do you know what I mean? And your own true identity and what it stands for. And modern, and the point of it is to you make up your own jam. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's the only way I could think of with breakdance, because it was, it was brought up in the 1980s. It was derived, really in like the Bronx, I
Yeah.
believe,
South Bronx,
off the
probably. Yeah.
streets, all this kind of stuff. And again, like they were doing 200 years ago. And that's what I love, particularly about dance. The human condition doesn't change.
Right.
300, 400 years ago, a 15-year-old girl or boy is into this pretty much roughly the same kind of shit that we're all still into today.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? The human body could have done what we are able to do now, but like you pointed out,
We didn't know how to get it there.
resources change, fast pace, people's training change, more thoughts and processes come of it. And there you go. And this is again with like training. Yeah, dance now is related with somatic practices and also mental health. I'll tell you this, the skills I learned in ballet, such as teamwork, critical thinking, problem solving, communication,
Yep.
verbally. Do you know what I mean? I still use on an everyday basis.
Yeah.
Discipline, routine, and it's a field where you got to have some kind of passion. And if you
Right.
don't have the passion, you're going to very quickly
Because you
kind
have
of
to
lead
start
out.
young, and if you don't stick with it, it's you're not gonna be able to catch up.
Yeah, you
You know.
you get it. So with breakdancing, the only thing I could possibly think of, because again, it's just natural human instinct to labelize stuff, right?
Yeah.
In hip hop, there are moves now, like the nay nay, you know what I mean? Or I'm drawing a blank. I can't even think of them all right now.
Yeah. I mean,
But
there's so
anyway,
many. It was kid and play dance.
you get where I'm going. I honestly am drawing a blank, and I
Yeah.
just can't, and I know them, and I teach this stuff. But anyway, who cares? There are certain ones, and maybe they say, okay, you have to have a certain requirement. You have to have X amount of this, but then also
Yeah.
could be creativity. Do you know
I
what I
think that's
mean?
gonna because I think part of it is I'm assuming what they did was say we want to backdoor a way into getting something interesting like breakdancing to the Olympics, and we'll figure out how to give the medals for it later. I'm assuming it was probably something like that.
Yeah, actually, I wonder. I could show you an example. Nah, it might take time. I could show you an example of basically a hip hop kind of competition.
I wouldn't say no because it's funny too. Is I think I remember one of the first times we met. I had this
Hold
idea
on, I'll get it for
that
you.
I was like tinkering with. I'll talk about this way of getting this going. That
No, no, yeah, you keep going.
I still kind of like this idea, but I actually saw it done fairly recently, something similar where I wanted to be able to do. I used to do like more scratch DJing, and I remember noticing just the way that a dancer's leg moves is very similar to the way that you might move a record across a needle when you're scratching. And I
Ah,
had this
yeah,
idea
true.
of doing this thing where you sort of combine a turntablist routine that plays off of the way the dancer's legs are moving in line with the way the records are moving, and then have lighting that is tied to like the way the fader is moving so that it all works together.
Absolutely.
I saw like a hip hop, like the Nutcracker, I forget what they call it, the Nutcracker hip hop thing that Curtis Blow kind of does. And there's a little bit of that going on in there. And I've seen a little bit of it before. I remember that was one of the first things I asked you about. And I remember
Yes.
you were being like, who is this person, this weird hip hop dude asking me these dance questions?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But it's still
What
an idea
was
to think about.
I'm trying to remember. He just died, poor guy. He was on the Ellen DeGeneres show.
Oh, I can't think of his name, but I know who.
Oh God, it's like Trip or
Yeah, I remember seeing him all over the place when that happened, and I
oh
forget.
God, I can't think of his name. That's terrible. Who cares? But anyway, he I think he was behind um that kind of
He was
that
actually, yes, you're right, because I
yes,
remember
yes. Oh my
when he
God,
passed away.
Twitch. That
Yes,
was his
when
name.
he passed away,
Twitch.
my girlfriend had pointed out that we had seen him in something recently. Yeah,
Ah, look at that. You learn something new each day. Isn't that the truth. You know, for some reason, I can't find what I'm looking for, so we'll let it go for now. But if I come across it, oh wait a minute, I think I might have found it. Hold on to your butts. What movie? You know what
Jurassic
movie?
Park, right?
Yes,
Right. Which I
my
first saw. I've only seen that
generation.
movie once, and I saw it for the first time like 8 years ago.
Right. I
I'm
love
slow with
that.
these things.
Okay, this is great that you knew that. Oh wait, I think I found it. Here we go. Check this out. This, I think, is in Montreal. We're gonna find out. Let me see if I can put this. Oh yeah. Oh no, wait. No, that's not it. Sorry. Anyway, let's keep going.
All right. Let me
I
ask
don't
this:
want
we're
to take
talking
up
about
any.
movies. What are some movies you think you really nailed dancing right? One of my personal favorites is All That Jazz. I love that movie so much.
Mm,
I
all that
love
jazz.
Black Swan too. I don't know if that's a controversial one, but
I
All
mean,
That
all of these
Jazz
are
to me is one of my
dramatized.
favorites.
Do you know what I
Right.
mean? I think
Yeah.
they all kind of touch on a little bit of reality, most of them. Do you know what I mean? Um, movies that can encapsulate
Or what's
a
like
life.
what's one where you thought somebody who isn't a dancer really pulled something off? Because that's a tricky thing too, where it's like they always do these
Oh, pulled
movies where
something
you're,
off. Oh,
yeah,
I see this every day, as a matter of fact. Like I remember when I was still, I think, like in high school and college. What was it? Center Stage. That first film came out.
yep,
Ethan Stiefel, who was a principal at ABT, um, and Julie Kent were like stars of ballet in America that I grew up with. It was like a big thing for us dance people because it was finally a movie
right.
that kind of reflected it in many ways. I
It's
mean,
like 8 Mile to
there
rappers.
yes, yeah, there are essences of it that totally encapsulated the culture and the background. But of course, there's also dramatized
Right.
kind of stuff in ballet in specific. It kind of got there's a term called bunhead,
Yep.
in our world, which is like you live and breathe ballet and you know nothing else. Like you just want to say, "Oh my God, go outside and I'm telling you, the sun, it's still warm. You're gonna love it. You know what I
I
mean?
know.
It's like they just you talk to them and all they can talk about somehow it always goes back to ballet. You know what I mean? Bunheads. For someone who is, I would say that center stage gives a very commercialized, dramatized way of a bunhead lifestyle
Yep.
because it's a type of art where it consumes your everyday process. I can't tell you how, in many ways, I was socially isolated
Well,
due
that's
to the
what's going to
fact of
ask
this.
you. So, at what point do you I mean, so you start at 7. Obviously, you're not starting at 7 and going every day right away. But at a certain point, as you're getting better at this, you're obviously having the interest to stay with. But do you ever really acknowledge that this is pushing you down a path that is going to be different socially from your peers? Or,
The whole time, many classes, I was the only guy. That always reminded me that, you know
right.
what I
Yeah.
mean? And then waking up and feeling how much my body hurt at such a young age, that
Yeah.
reminded me. Do you get where I'm going?
Yep.
And it
Yep.
was, do I want to stay in ballet? Do I want to stay in dance for
I
all
mean, I
these
played
reasons?
I played football one year in 7th grade and I bruised my tailbone. And I'm like, nah, not for me.
Oh my
Like,
God, dude. And I'll use, I shouldn't say you, I should, a lot of sports athletes, have it so much better than dancers do.
yeah,
It's so sad. And this is where, you know, it's very true. Just because of the natural system in America works, which makes it hard for artists, independent artists to really come forward, and what I mean by that is like resource wise,
yeah,
having a financial background where you can market yourself properly.
that's
But
the big thing.
thanks to technology, this is changing.
True
Do you know what I
greatness will
mean?
find a channel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like for example, now social media has become the place as a form of marketing one's brand, and
Yep.
why it's free.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
literally free. And
There's no
dances,
middleman. It's just you and your audience. Yeah.
yes. What's the word I'm looking for? Dance is empirical. It's like there and it's gone. Do you know what I mean? And it's
Yeah.
hard
Yeah.
to record and get it. Now that we can videotape and do this kind of stuff, right? It's giving us this instant market. And just look at our natural culture. It's a reflection of our culture. It's very fast paced. People don't have time. They want shit right there in front of your
Yeah.
stuff. And you got to be unique, and you got to be unique quick in order for me to stay, and unfortunately a lot of it is through technical caliber, but a lot of it is through inspiration, which is now the mentality. When I was in high school, I was told we're growing up in the contemporary period, and I'm still going, well, when the fuck are we out of it?
I know. We'll be dying in the contemporary period.
We're 20% done. If you think about it, with the 21st century, something artistically or culturally is bound to happen. It already has happened. Yeah. And I think it has to do with this digital age.
That's kind of like saying that we're living in the pre-future. It's like, well, no shit.
Yeah, but it's true. And that's kind of what was happening with ballet. Eventually it was getting stale. The people of like the 1980s, 70s, how they made ballet more innovative. And a lot of it was take American ideas and put it a part of it. You know what I mean? Like there's, for example, Balanchine. He started New York City Ballet. He has a specific style. It's called neoclassical, new classical. What's different about it? Well, the motherfucker totally caught on that jazz was awesome. And so he took elements, qualities, right, of jazz dance and put it in ballet, even though ballet still has its main prime technique. And that's what revamped it. But then when the 90s came, nobody did. There was no people like that anymore. There's all these other people that were doing it.
What about someone like a Baryshnikov, who's probably the most famous ballet dancer? If people only know one, they probably know him. Like if they know one skateboarder,
I hope they know him. You'd be surprised how many don't, Tim.
Right. Yeah.
Many don't. And I'm thrilled to teach them all about him. There's a section in one of the courses I teach called The Dancer, and I kind of hone in on him because I love him. I think he is a demigod.
Now, to what degree, and I don't know that's much specifically about, to what degree did he help popularize ballet? And
100%.
Okay.
And 100%.
When he kind of stopped doing stuff, did that help the decline of ballet? He never stopped
doing stuff. That's the thing. Our nation.
Because I know him more from acting. Because I mean, obviously, I've seen him more act more than I've seen him dance.
This is what I'm saying. Our nation, right, through various reasons, which could make our podcast go on forever, did not necessarily recognize dance as a culturally predominant aspect that we should focus on and practice more. And it's only been within the last 20 years that really dance has become so. Like, for example, why do a lot of guys don't go out on the dance floor? Because they're afraid of being humiliated.
Right.
Why? Probably toxic masculinity.
Right. There was never, and there was also never dance in the household as a kid. There was never a passing down of culture.
Yes, and yet people like my brother are, captain of the varsity football team at St. John's private Catholic place, blah 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 blah, and yet he would always go out on that dance floor and he would do stupid moves. When I mean stupid, there is not stupid because remember, art is subjective. But what I mean, how about this? Primitive.
Right. If you can learn what a 4/4 beat is, you can learn how to dance a little bit, essentially.
Yes. Yes. For example, he would do the lawnmower or the sprinkler. And what is he doing? He's getting rid of his shell. I'm purposely going to humiliate myself. And then guess what? People react.
Yeah.
And they actually go, yes.
And it brings them down too. Yeah, you've communicated something. You've essentially communicated this is a time for us. Going. Right. I'm doing this. It's okay for you to do it.
Yes, and this is exactly what's happening, and that's exactly what happened with Baryshnikov. I mean, look at what was going on during that time when Baryshnikov was coming here. Right. You had the Cuban Missile Crisis. You had the Cold War. Right. He came here because of the Cold War. He defected the USSR because they wanted to really control him and they were fucking pissed off. So we had some guy as the US, the free place, look what, blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden he made it cool. Right. He made literally ballet cool. But it's also bullshit movies, even though they're not bullshit because they were so pivotal pop cultural wise, like Dirty Dancing and Footloose.
Yeah.
Right? And they all
Saturday
came out
Night
in
Fever.
What was happening in the 80s? AIDS,
yeah,
homophobia, gay, right? Yeah, cocaine.
Lots of cocaine.
This is it. And then in the 90s, sex, 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 sex,
Yeah.
sex, sex. In early 2000s, sex, 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 sex. You don't believe me? Go look at
No.
Britney Spears.
Oh
Go
yeah.
look at the
There
rappers.
is stuff that you would
Go
see on
look at
MTV in the late 2000s you'd never see now. Just the
ah,
level of sexuality, you would never see
is
it.
it's through the roof. And then you can see, and sex sells,
Yeah.
commercialism. You can see really, the mass sum taking, over all this stuff. So anyway, as I'm saying, now what are we living in? The contemporary period, right? Postmodern dance. This What is postmodern dance? Let's say it started from like the late 60s or mid 60s to like 70s ish, 80s ish. There's like two waves of it,
Mhm.
right? And basically it was like, you know, separate from anything, be yourself, true. But there was a sense of suppression. Don't be like this. Don't be like this. Now, look at your mentality as an American of our generation. Our generation was told we could do whatever we want.
Right.
We could be whatever we want. And that's usually how we treat our art. And there's no coincidence that, especially in our generation, FOMO and social media, right? The predominance of social media and the predominance of FOMO, fear of missing out, coincided together. And a lot of our generation today, personally, if you ask me, are more concerned now due to the lack of resources that our generations had before about experiences in finding personal fulfillment in life. We're more
Right.
concerned. It's interesting about going through an experience versus having more object, materialistic things, consuming them to find fulfillment in life. You can see that in dance. I think right now, like contemporary dance, what the fuck is that? I remember saying literally 5, 6 years ago, what the fuck is contemporary dance? And that's the beauty. And I think that's the revelation, the artistic revelation that we're having. If you ask people in my field, it might be a little bit more defined over the last 5, 6 years, but if particularly 5 years ago, even probably even currently now, if you ask a variety of different professionals in dance from different contexts of it, they would probably have a different definition of what the heck contemporary dance is. And if anything, all professionals can agree on about it is that it's a fusion of practices. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Even though there's subtle differences on what the hell contemporary dance is. So theoretically, what I make nowadays is like I like to make is contemporary dance, but it's more contemporary ballet. Why? Because based off my experience, a lot of my movement, if I intend so, would naturally or I intentionally would have more balletic technical qualities to it. Whereas somebody else who, I don't know, did more swing dance growing up will have more swing dance, even though you'll see balletic qualities and jazz qualities into it. And it kind of coincides with today's mentality where we want to go out, experience everything. How come I can't take this? How come I can't take that and mix it all together? Yet, what's interesting, and it's being surfaced now, is kind of like this Western American idea of like, for me, for me, for me, for me, for me. I want to take, take, take. What about recognition and experiencing it and then collaboratively in a very beneficial way for everybody? You get this, really, well-rounded product by the end instead of these like primitive surfaces. So that's really the mentality of today. Everyone's like, I want to create my own movement vocabulary and I want it to be influenced from all different things. And I want all theatrical elements to be involved, even things that have absolutely nothing to do with dance,
But that kind of
such
feels
as
like
gardening.
when you go to like the movie theater and get a soda and just put like a little bit of every flavor in it. It
Yes, you
never
kind
tastes
of,
that great, you
yeah.
know.
And, one of the leading artists that really kind of got this concept was his name is Yuri Killian. And oh my God, his work is so beautiful and has really affected in a positive way so many styles of dance. I just can't. He's like 30, 40 years ahead of his time. And now it's gone through the roof where you get, styles of dance in concerts such as Gagaism, or you see balletic qualities and modern dance qualities in breakdancing now.
Right.
And So it's like artists in dance now are on a never-ending quest to create a hybrid movement vocabulary for the specific work that they're creating, and or try to materialize a characteristic or a style that's
Right.
their staple.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that ballet
With mentality?
breakdancing thing actually makes sense because it's like there's two examples of dance where it's really about pushing your body to the extreme. So it's like
Yes.
there's always going to be like it was funny. Like I remember talking to our Dan, the person we met through about this years ago. He was a he used to do a lot of like trick skiing, and I used to do a lot of like
Yes,
freestyle
I
rapping.
remember.
And we would
Mm-hmm.
talk about how when YouTube hit, how much that changed everything because there was this documentary where Tony Hawk was trying to do this really impressive trick that nobody thought was even possible being doing. He tried for years and years and he eventually did it, and once he did it, a lot of other people could do it because once you
Yes.
see that something is possible and it's possible, it makes it more possible for you in a weird way. So like the proliferation of sharing this stuff has got to be constantly retraining people to what is possible and having them heighten those limits.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is why um, I encourage dance to be competitive. Like I was saying, dance is naturally competitive. It's competitive socially. Dancers usually constantly compete against themselves. Do you know what I mean? But when you look at the purpose of dance, it was to communicate, to express. Do you know what I mean? That's the purpose of art. So um, I guess there's good and bad in everything. Do you know what I mean? And I guess it's how you interpret it. When you compete dance, oh my God, it surfaces so many great things that come out of it. I just hope that eventually, or at the Olympics in a way, educate viewers on how they're going to judge it, and that
Right.
people even watching themselves, though this person did not win the gold, you should totally go see them in a show.
Right.
That doesn't mean they're the best. That just meant that they were able to pull off X, Y, and Z at that specific
Right.
time. And that's the beauty of performances, because that's basically what, especially in concert dance, that's what happens in a way, right? We're in the performance is making a world that invites you in. There's a reason why years ago, particularly Wagner decided, let's make a proscenium stage, right? Double proscenium, and it kind of makes a photo, and you zoom in on it, and then you're submerged in darkness, right? It's almost the beginning of immersive entertainment, like a lot of what you see in arenas and museums and stuff like that.
Selling an experience, you know?
Yeah, you get where I'm going.
Yep.
That's special, and it is special because I'll tell you, those performers may or may not be able to produce um, not exactly what they did the night before. Sometimes it
Right.
might even be better. I think Dave Matthews Band is a great example of that. Do you know what I mean? Every time he goes and does a song, right, it's different when you see it in concert.
Yeah.
It's not like it in the album, and it's not like they did it the night before or the thing, because it has the essence of jazz. That's one of the main key characteristics of jazz
They
is
also understand
improvisation.
they understand too that like, okay, we've got you to come see us this time, but we need to give you a reason now to come see us next time. Because so many
Yes.
acts that are so successful don't seem to really get that at the current concert they're at, it's not about just status. It's about saying wanting those people that if you could sell them a ticket on the way out to the next one, that they would buy it.
Yes.
And that's a pro
Yes. Yes.
wrestling
Yes. Yes.
mentality. That's literally they would do stuff like that, where do a big show at Madison Square Garden and then sell people tickets on the way out the door to the next one, and that's the way it works.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
get them when
Absolutely.
they're
So,
most excited. So that means you have to get them that excited. It's like
yeah, exactly. So,
because there's definitely
oh
been
my gosh.
concerts we've
See, I
all
could.
yeah.
Oh, go
So
ahead.
there's concerts we've all been to where it's like the best part for me was the anticipation of seeing it, and when I got there, it's more just about why am I standing around? It wasn't as good. It's like you gotta finish strong.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. You know what I mean? And there you go. The fact that we're talking about music, we're talking about film and all this stuff, that methodologies, processes in all the different forms of arts are translatable amongst all the
Exactly.
different other art forms, which is brilliant.
Well, it's funny too
in so
that
many
for me,
ways.
I mentioned before, I went to film school, but like I didn't actually work on film. And now I'm working on my first film now, but everything I learned making film is what taught me to make music. And it's like it's just, and then that taught me
See?
to be a visual artist. And then it's like there's so many of these things that blend into each other. It's.
Right. Like, let's talk about film, for example. There's a form of performance that's out there. The Hollywood Bowl does it a lot.
Yes.
It's called live to film,
Yep.
where you watch the film and then, the dance moments that come on, the actors on screen come on stage and they
And they'll
portray
have a
them.
live orchestra sometimes too.
Yes,
Whereas,
it's awesome. And I did kind of a concert, contemporary ballet work um, that was like that. You know what I mean? And
yep.
all of these things taking place. I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought.
It's okay. Hollywood
Unfortunately,
Bowl.
yes, I get so excited talking
Yeah,
about all
I'm
these
the same way.
different things. But the Hollywood Bowl, all these different forms of performances are these, again, a hybrid form of what is taking place today, and I'm really foreseeing a lot of ballet going towards the video digital realm that we keep mentioning, like all
Right.
these methodologies. Like when you go to do your film, I had a small film about bullying in it, and I realized I only had 2.5 hours to make dancers who know nothing about acting, right?
Right.
To create a 2.5 minute video. I don't know how I was able to do it, but I did, and a lot of it was through like almost silent film.
Right.
Do you see
Which
what I
is,
mean?
I
They
said
didn't have
before about
to
how
act.
ballet
They
dance,
just kind of,
yeah,
yeah,
ballet dancers have to be able to hit the last row, but on film, it's all about the close up. So it's a totally different like
it's a
dynamic.
whole totally different experience in the way you even use music. For example, I love how Steven Spielberg said when he was paying homage to Tony Williams. Yeah, what's his? It's not Tony Williams. What's his name?
Um,
John Williams, the
yeah,
composer. He was basically saying a lot of his
I was thinking of
films.
Paul Williams. I'm like, you're talking
Yeah,
about Paul
probably.
Williams. I'm still stuck in the
Tony
Carpenters.
Williams is a previous principal ballet dancer back in the day in Boston. But anyway, he was saying, just as a kind of like a final thought to wrap it up, is music in film indirectly or directly tells viewers what they should feel during that
Exactly.
scene.
And if you don't believe
And
that,
I love that.
watch a film, go to YouTube and watch a scene from the film with the music cut out, and it does something to your brain.
Oh,
It's
it's
totally different.
bizarre. And then that's exactly what they did. They showed an Indiana Jones sequence.
Yeah.
I think it was like them on the train, one of the third one or something like that. And it was the most boring thing I've ever heard. And I go, oh
It's
my God,
it's
John
boring to the point that it's
Williams.
laughable a lot of
Yeah, I
times.
almost say it's almost like Saturday Night Fever, that movie. The film is terrible if you really think about it. It's not
Right.
terrible, but it's not the best.
They
It
made a
was the
sequel to it
music.
though.
Yeah, but it was the music.
Right. Exactly. Soundtrack, one of
It
the
was
highest,
the
probably the highest selling
music.
soundtrack of all
Yeah.
time, or one of them.
Bee Gees. Yeah, you
Find the
can't. Oh
generation.
my God. Oh my God. It was the music. That's what everybody was. And what did that music do? Encourage an attitude,
Yeah.
which was expressed through dance. Do you
Remember
see
how
what I mean?
people used to say disco, how people laugh about how dead disco is? And then you realize disco never really, it was maybe like cool down for a while, but the idea of going, getting dressed up in something cool, and maybe taking some substances and dancing all night, that's never really gone away.
Are you kidding? Absolutely not, dude. It's that. What do you think is taking place? This is me in my own opinion. What when we go out and dance? What the fuck is going on? What essentially are we doing?
Mating dance to some degree, you know?
Yeah, well, you're communicating, right?
Yeah, communicating. Yep. Yep.
Communicating. There are times where I would go, fuck, I just want to go dance the shit out of it,
Yeah.
right? And you just in your own little fucking place, going whatever, and nobody cares. Well, some do. Do you see what I mean? You
Yeah.
may, because it depends on your culture and the influence it has on you, why you do certain moves and the reason why you move a certain way, right?
Yeah.
But then when you're trying to get with like somebody, right, intimately, it's like the equivalent of courting.
Yeah. It
That's
is.
what you're doing. right?
It's
You're in a
step
way
one.
courting. You're like a male bird showing off his feathers.
Right.
Say, check out me, yo. Yeah.
It's sort of like the 10 million sperm cells trying to be the one that finds the
Yes,
egg to
that's
some degree,
exactly
you
what
know?
we are. We're primitive animals, right?
Yeah.
We're mammals in a sense, right? And
Yep.
this is us acting. All creatures in a way dance, right? You can't
Yeah.
think. So anyway, you get where I'm going. You
Yep.
know what I mean? It's really, really fascinating. And a human condition doesn't change. It transcends time. And I
Right.
love how it neutralizes, particularly dance. Many people, it doesn't matter where the fuck you came from, what resources you had, right? It's what you can actually produce during that moment,
Yep.
right? It's a fascinating concept. There's raw talent, and then there's talent that can be harnessed and finessed. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
That je ne sais quoi, who knows? So the power
Yeah.
of the performing arts and ballet, the more you know about it, the more rewarding it is. And I highly suggest you go see a lot of contemporary works because that's really influencing or really reflecting what people are interested in, particularly in the realm. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Because
Yep.
it's good. It's like eating, right? It's good to go see the classics, give you a little taste. There's good greatness about it, right? And it's good to know what you're watching and why you're watching what it is. It's good to go see a romantic ballet. It's good to go see neoclassical ballet. They have different feelings to it. And the contemporary works, it's what it is,
Yep.
modern,
It's
right?
of our
That's how the
time.
word for it is.
Yeah.
Um, and it's nothing but a wholesome beautifulness. As
Yep.
basically, if there's one thing ballet definitely does extremely well, motor skill wise, I would say coordination with your different limbs and proprioception, you know what I mean, and self-awareness, though you're
Right.
facing one way and you're moving a certain way, right? And I would
Generally
say
speaking,
balancing.
self-awareness, I think, is one of the number one skills and applied to many different areas of your life that I would recommend people work on. There's almost nothing more valuable than self-awareness.
Right. And oh my God, look at that. It kind of coincides with our culture,
Yes.
right? We're in a very me. What can I get
Exactly. And people
from
don't, and a lot of people who aren't self-aware don't realize how much their meanness is literally just sweating from their pores and obvious to everybody
yes,
else. It's
yes,
it's
yes,
it's
yes,
and they
yes,
wonder why they don't get ahead. It's like it's because,
yes, yes, yes.
whatever.
Well, I I unfortunately I have to go pick up my son at
That's
daycare.
okay. I actually got to go too. But and we go talk on forever. So maybe we'll have you back on at some point. Usually when I have
Oh
someone on
yeah.
a second
You know what
time,
you gotta do with me, Tim? You know what you gotta do? You gotta zero it in.
yeah.
Mark, let's talk about this facet, this aspect, this area
Well, it's funny. When I
of
have return
ballet.
guests on, I do something called the 79 question lightning round where I come up with 79 questions and ask them, and that takes forever.
Uh-huh.
So we might be able to do something like that, but like you have to
We
keep the
could.
answers kind of short. That's been one of some of my more fun episodes. So I'm actually doing one this weekend. So
Oh, brilliant.
I
Check
got to
that
write those
out.
questions.
Well, you know where I am, Tim,
Yeah, this
and
has been awesome to
I
catch up,
always
man.
welcome a discussion about art.
Yes,
Never mind dance, never mind ballet. Any of those I will gladly welcome in addition to a Tolkien.
you'll be getting my text.
I'll totally
All
do
right,
a Middle Earth talk
man.
too.
Well, good talking to you.
Well, hey, pleasure. Thanks for having me on. Happy dancing. Keep going, and hopefully we'll have another session.
Definitely. All right.